Hi guys, it's me Ty here, and I'm gonna give you guys my final thoughts on the country of Laos. And I know it's been a long time coming. I just had to really think and ponder about it, of what all I did think about it. So the first thing about Laos is, from living in Asia all these years, like nobody like ever volunteered to talk about Laos or say anything about it. It's obviously a country that just kind of floats under the radar, and it doesn't leave that deep of impressions on people. Like Thailand and the Philippines, people talk about them like crazy. Um, so when I was here in Cambodia, I asked one of my German friends that's lived here in Phnom Penh for years, if he'd ever been to Laos, and he said yes. And I was like, well, how are the women there? And he's like, Laos women are the best. And then when I was in Vietnam, I ran into a bunch of Russians that were my roommates, and I asked them, or one of them that would always do his border run in Laos, and I was like, uh, "How are the Laos women?" He's like, "Laos women are the best," and I was like, "Oh, this is looking really good." So I'd actually bought my Laos plane ticket back when I was still in Cambodia, waiting on my Vietnam visa, or at least when I just got it, because going to all these different countries, you need to have an exit ticket out of there. So I bought it way ahead of time. And then once I got to Vietnam, um, bad things happened. It made the national news all over the world about the mass poisoning of foreigners in Laos, because the place, all my friends here in Cambodia that I had asked that had said they liked Laos, they said they love vientiane. And there is so much to do up there, especially the tipsy tubing down a river like they do in Missouri in the United States, where there'll be like 50 people just floating down the river on tubes, just being lazy, drinking and everything. And that's what they do in Laos. And me, I'm big into water sports. I've always loved being in the water. So I was really anxious for that. But unfortunately, like I said, it made the news that up at one of the backpacker hostels in Vien, um, six foreigners died. It was like two Australian girls, some people from the UK, an American died, and then at least two people went blind. Because I did my research over like the 2 months after the mass poisoning, because I just want to keep follow up on it, like what really happened. So I'm just going to kind of lay out the facts of what happened on that. So, um, at that hostel, the bar there, to attract more tourists or people into there, they at their bar they give free shots to people, just so they can tell their friends, oh yeah, stay here, you get free shots and get everybody drunk and all that kind of stuff. Well, the effects of um, this methanol poisoning that these people got, it acts like alcohol poisoning, so you don't catch it right away. And these two girls, they were actually flown to Bangkok, Thailand, because obviously the hospitals aren't the best in Laos, and that's where they ended up dying. And from the research that the journalists for the news did on it, they said with methanol that it's I don't know all the ingredients for making alcohol or anything, but it almost sounded like this was like a moonshine situation. Instead of using the proper ingredient for human consumption like they're supposed to, they said they went to like a hardware store and you can buy methanol as an alternative, an industrial thing, probably used in paints and paint thinners and stuff like that or whatever. And they were putting this in there to save money. And yeah, all these people died. They arrested the owner and a bunch of the staff and everything while the Laos government was doing their research on this, as well as the Australian government was doing their research on this as well. And what they found out um, was they went like, I think it was like a month or 2 months after the whole incident went down. They It came out on the news that the journalists, and I don't think these were even the Laos ones, these were like ones sent out of Australia. They went to the actual brewery that made all this hard liquor that was being served to these people. And this was a legit brewery, you guys. Um, they had nice labels on the bottles, everything. This is stuff you'd be buying out of the store. and they found traces of methanol in the tubs and everything. So, um, because originally, I talked to a bunch of backpackers, and they're like, "Oh, it's just the hard liquor you got to worry about. Don't worry about the beer." And staying in Vientiane, the capital, like they're a big sense, or a big percentage of their money in Laos comes from Lao beer, and my roommates were all drinking Lao beer like crazy, and all the local Lao people were. And none of my roommates ever got sick from it. Everybody's like, stay away from just the hard liquors where you got to worry about. And like I said, this obviously is like a moonshine situation, just like we had in the United States, where if they mixed it up too heavy, that Americans would go blind, back down south during the Prohibition days and all that kind of stuff. But my family begged me, do not go to Vien with all this stuff going on until this all gets sorted out. So I made a promise to my family that I would just stay in the capital city of Vientiane. So that's what I did. And so yeah, I gave you guys the facts on the methanol poisoning, and you guys can make your own decisions. Me personally, I will never drink the alcohol in Laos after this bad of a situation, or at least until 2 years after hopefully the country gets this sorted out. Um, yeah, so just to save a few bucks, they use stuff out of a hardware store rather than stuff for human consumption. So when I got there, the first thing I thought of the people there was, this is Thailand. Because the thing about Vientiane, it's at the bottom of the country. There is a southern finger that comes way down off the side and comes around Thailand. But I was at the bottom of the country up there, and right across the border from us is the river. So Vientiane, the capital city, sits right on the river, and on the opposite side of the river is a Thai um, town. So you got Thailand there. So when I got there, I was like, man, all the women here are beautiful because they all look Thai. They all look like the Isan women that come down to Bangkok for work, all the farming girls, the brown face and broad smile. And so yeah, I thought it was wonderful there. And okay, so like I said, it's like Thailand. The hostel that I stayed at, I found out that the prices were very cheap for the dormitories. I was paying $3.50, and that is the second cheapest that I've ever paid for a hostel in my life. Uh, Second only to Vietnam, because Vietnam I was paying $3.25 a night for my dorm room. The hotel rooms and the apartments are a totally different story, though. In Vietnam, my buddy, he was living in a luxury hotel room right on the ocean, just beautiful. And he paid $7 a night in Vietnam, but not in Laos. In Laos, at my um, place that I was staying at, you could get your own single room for $12.50. And that was kind of the going rate around town, was about, most of them were $15. And when I watched the reviews, or went on the Google reviews, most of them had bed bugs in the mattress. Like people would go to lay down and take a nap when they first got there, and they would just have red marks all over them from the bugs biting them. So uh, that kind of made me decide not to do that. And then I had looked at, and plus, like at my place I stayed at, only two of the rooms, if you got a single room, had your own bathroom. Uh, the third one at our place, you had to share the bathroom with all of the dormitory people, which would be kind of a pain in the butt. And also, the water is not reliable in Laos. This would be considered comparable to Sikihor Island in the Philippines, where some of my friends, they were renting a house there, not an apartment. They actually had their house with a big yard and everything. They were paying $40 a month, but they told me that there's some days for a few hours during the day, or maybe a day, where you might not have any running water to your house to wash dishes or flush a toilet. And that was the issue that we had at our hostel. And um, we had a 55-gallon drum or whatever, and that was our cistern or aquifer, which I do remember in the United States. I went to one of my friend's old house, and they actually had the concrete bunker there too from back in the day where there wasn't much water pressure and there just wasn't enough water for the whole community, and they would fill that up, and that's how they it was kind of their cushion or whatever. So here we ran out of water quite often, but our landlord was really good about getting valves switched around each time from that little 55-gallon drum um, to flush the toilet and stuff like that. And then we also had a 5-gallon bucket that we always kept full too, that we could dump in the tank on the back of the toilet to flush it. So kind of all your old school life hacks, from the United States, from like your even before your grandparents' generation probably. Um, Going into effect there. And I asked a few of the girls there about that situation. I was like, "Do you guys have water issues at your homes and stuff like that?" And one of the Lao girls told me, actually, she's like, "We have a big enough cistern at her apartment where they don't have to worry about it." But she said at the business that she works at, that her employer is working on getting a bigger cistern put in it because yes, they do run out of water for the toilets and stuff at her place of employment. So, like I said, you guys are gonna have to deal with that. And another thing I noticed, like our landlord, he wasn't cheap about air conditioning. Like here in Cambodia and all of Asia, electricity costs twice as much as the United States. You know, 24 cents, 25 cents a kilowatt hour in unlike the 12 cents per kilowatt hour we pay in the United States because it's just in short supply here. Um, in Laos, our landlord let us leave the air conditioning on all day and a fan going too. And that just amazed me because in Cambodia, our landlords, they all shut off our AC during the daylight. They only run it from 9 p.m. until 7 in the morning, and then they shut off the breaker and we can't use it. We're lucky if we even get a fan. And so they got to make a living, and I realized that electricity is very expensive, so I completely see where they're coming from. All the expats that live in these countries, they don't use the air conditioning really. They use a fan because it uses 1/100th of the electricity of an air conditioner. Um, okay, uh, quietness there. That is another thing that really surprised me about Laos. Coming from like the Philippines and stuff like that, where you always get woken up, no matter if you're living in Manila, in a major metropolitan city, by the roosters crowing in the morning because everybody has chickens in their house, in their yard. Um, I didn't have to hear that. I get up in the morning, I wouldn't even hear crickets, you guys. I wouldn't even hear motorbikes. I would hear nothing. It was just dead silence. It was like quieter than the country in the United States where you hear grasshoppers and crickets and the coyotes howling at night. So, and where that comes from is I have never seen so many electric vehicles in my life as in Vientiane, Laos. And Vientiane, Laos, for being the capital city, you guys, it's really not that big of a city. It's 841,000 people is the population of that city, which is just crazy because, um, okay, to tell you guys the different sizes of cities, okay, Bangkok, Thailand is 11 million people, the capital city of Thailand. The capital city of Cambodia, where I live, Phnom Penh, is 2.1 million people. Uh, the third largest city of Vietnam, which is halfway up Vietnam, is Da Nang, where I was living, and that is 2.1 million people. But the capital city of Laos, Vientiane, is only 841,000 people. So getting back to these electric vehicles, they have electric vehicles in all the sectors. Uh, the little tuk-tuks that pick you up, just like in Cambodia, most of them are electric. A lot of the motorbikes that you run into in Vientiane are electric. Um, the big cars, big four-door sedans, the big hatchbacks, many of them are electric. Um, I even ran into two Tesla Cybertrucks there. Just their electric infrastructure is big there. They even had charging stations on Main Street that can charge your motorbike in like 12 minutes or something like that. It was just crazy. So that's the reason the city was so quiet. Um, okay, things to do there. I must say, you guys, the city is very boring during the daylight hours. Like there really isn't much to do. Like they have out by Riverside, the city center district, during they don't have any shopping malls there. So I would walk quite a ways outside the city center to go to two shopping malls there. And even during the day, that's where the movie theater is. Those shopping malls are pretty dead. Like there is not much to do there, you guys. If you think you're gonna pick up a girl there, not very likely. There just are not that many people. So at nighttime though, when supper comes around, all of the local people that working, all the women and all them, they like to go to Sihom Night Market, and that's where one of the local girls told me to go for supper, and that is spelled Sihom, and then Night Market, and that is in the city center where I was living. And you can easily get a meal for $2 because that's my budget for each meal is $2. So that's where I ate supper every night, and beautiful women everywhere in there, you guys. So yeah, that's because they get off work wherever they're working, the bank, whatever, and it's just easiest for them to grab supper there. And then after that, then they go to the vientiane night market, which is I don't know maybe 4 blocks from there, it's located right on Riverside, and it's not really foreigners because they don't have that many foreigners in Vientiane. Pretty much everybody I talk to there that's a foreigner, I'm like, is this your first time here? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, it's my first time too. So obviously, Laos people come there one time to say they've seen it, and then they never come back. They go back home to Vietnam or Thailand, wherever they like to home base. So grab some water here. Kind of have a cold from somebody smoking around me. So yeah, that's where we go. And then right over the big embankment, right on the river, they have a carnival. And maybe I should say a little bit more about the night market. Not that night market is huge, you guys. Like it's long, it's got tons of aisles, so it takes a little while to get through it each night. Okay, now we'll go to the across or right on the riverbank. So, um, right behind the night market, sitting right on the riverside, kind of go over like a embankment, kind of a hill, and you look down, and they have two big Ferris wheels there, and it's a giant carnival, is what it is. But I guess they would probably maybe consider it a fair, and it's it's not something that comes to town. This is a permanent structure that's open every night. And me as a foreigner and like the other foreigners and everything, what they have there is they have two sets of bumper cars, and it costs $1.25 to ride these bumper cars, and you get to ride them for like a good 5 minutes maybe. And that's what all the locals do there. Like the foreigners will take their girlfriend there and ride around the bumper car because it's a two-seater. And the mom and dads, the Laos people, they'll take their little baby on there, which absolutely amazes me because, in the United States, we're always taught never ever shake a baby. And they're driving around in these bumper cars with a baby in there. So I thought it was just nuts. So, but yeah, that's what I would do so many nights because it was just so fun. And like the tickets are so cheap that even the local people, they would buy like two or three of the tickets, some of them even more. And they would just said they wouldn't have to give up the car and have somebody else steal their spot. They would just hand the ticket again when the guy comes around it, and they would just tie up them for all night long. So you didn't have to worry about going there and not having anybody to bump with on the bumper cars, which you like do have that issue on in other countries and stuff like that. Not there. Those bumper cars were filled up all night long until like midnight whenever they shut down for the night. So and then also if you walk further down the riverside, there's a big statue. I'd say probably like a half a mile away when you're walking. Um, so like if you're in the Phnom Penh night market and you walk to the riverbank to the fair, if you take a left and walk a half a mile, there's this giant statue of like a soldier or something. And there's like a little courtyard down there. Well, in the grass, they have a whole bunch of weightlifting machines, like the ones that you push, and then they have the pull down ones, and they worked really good. Like they're not slopped out like the ones that we have in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. So I would go and use those, and I would get a really good workout there. Um, what else can I say about the place here? Made notes for you guys. So, um, told you guys about the methanol poisoning, so you guys can make your own decisions on that. Um, yep, I think everybody should visit it. Say you guys have been there. Um, and like I said, it's just like Thailand as far as I'm concerned. The people there, they look Isan Thai. So if you like Thai women, you definitely want to visit Laos. I told you guys the fun things to do. Okay, we're gonna talk about the airport now. Okay, when I went to leave, um, outside the airport, they have the money exchange station. So if you want to get rid of your Laos money, um, but so I thought that if I had any issues, because when I was in Vietnam, anytime I tried to leave the country or fly within the country, um, I ended up having to pay extra for my luggage because any other airline you're on, uh, your carry-on bag and your personal item you get. Well, in Vietnam, that's not how that works. There, you can fly your carry-on and your personal item cannot weigh over 7 kilograms, which is nothing. So, uh, your my backpack that I carry and my laptop weighs over 7 kilograms by a lot. So, I've always had to pay 28 to $32, whatever, at the airport to do that. So I didn't exchange my Lao money before I left. And so when I went through immigration, they so when I before I came to Laos, I was only planning on spending 1 month there, see how the dating scene was, see if I find a nice woman, then I'd move on. Well, the immigration officer gave me 60 days. So I didn't want to buy my ticket until I'd been there an entire month and seen how I thought of it. So I stayed there a month and I ended up signing that, hey, I want to leave or whatever. So I go and I get to the airport, get to immigration or whatever, and they're like, "You overstayed by 1 day. You owe us money." And that was, and I was like, "No, I don't." I was like, "The immigration officer gave me 60 days. It's only been 1 month here." And like a bunch of hyenas, like a pack or whatever, instead of listening to me, they're all listening to the first one. They're like, "Oh, they're in the right," and also they're just jumping me, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna take you to the back room, and you're this is where you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay for being 1 day over or whatever." And I was trying to tell them, "No, I didn't," or whatever. So they take me to the counter in this back room or whatever, and I was like, "No," I was like, "I came here in December." And this is January. We're only halfway through January. I've only been here 1 month. On this stamp on my passport, it says February. And and he starts looking at it. He's like, "You're right. You're right. Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. We must have been dyslexic or whatever." And I was like, "It's okay. It's okay." So I went back. They took me back to the counter or whatever. They stamped it, and I was able to go into the terminal there and wait for my plane tickets. So I was walking all around there to the restaurants or anything. I was like, "Where's the money exchange station here? Because I want to convert my money to Thai baht or Cambodia real, U.S. dollars, whatever." And they're like, "We don't have one inside the terminal. That was outside." And I was like, "Darn it." Because before I left Vietnam, I looked at the airport because we I was able to exchange my Vietnam dong inside of the airport terminal while I was waiting for my flight, which was really nice. And they did not have anything there that said Lao Kip on it. So in Vietnam, they don't recognize Lao money. Um, so here in Laos, I couldn't exchange it. Then when I made my connecting flight to Bangkok, Thailand, I was in the terminal and I checked. They do every other currency, but not Lao Kip. They do not exchange that money. Then when I got back home here to Cambodia, where I'm at right now, um, I I asked them, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't exchange Lao Kip. Lao Kip cannot be used anywhere except for uh, in Lao." And I don't know if I'm even going to go to Laos ever again. That's why I want to exchange my money, because the dating scene was not very good there. Um, so, uh, in which, yeah. So, yeah, and I just exchanged $100, so I got quite a bit of money. So probably will end up going there eventually someday or whatever. But yeah, so um, if you guys don't think you have to worry about luggage, and that is another thing when I left. If So I got checked in the terminal there, and I was surprised they didn't ask for any extra money because when I bought that ticket out of Lao, they didn't even have an option for me to purchase checked luggage or anything like that. So I was convinced that I was going to need my Lao money anyways going through the terminal to pay for my backpack to have that as checked luggage. And I ended up not being able to just carry it on the plane, and they didn't charge me any money. So this is obviously a Vietnam thing with Vietnam Air or whatever that airline was that I used throughout Vietnam to leave their country and my domestic flight within the country. So, yep. And yep, told I was quiet in the mornings. Oh, the cold. Okay, I spent December and January there, and okay, I've been all throughout Southeast Asia now, you guys, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about the heat and the cold. Okay, there is no heat that compares to like Manila, Philippines. When I get up at 1 in the morning, walk out on my balcony, I couldn't breathe. It would just suffocate me. It was miserable. Um, Whereas Bangkok, Thailand, and Phnom Penh, Cambodia, very similar. They're to each other, not to the Philippines. They're nothing here. Um, the heat here in Thailand and Cambodia, it does not bother me at all. It's just fine. It's on the warm side, but it doesn't bother me. I I I like the heat here because I'll take it any day over the cold. Um, when I went to Vietnam, that was borderline cold there. We got a lot of rain, and in the mornings there would just be enough to kind of nip me in the morning, but after like 5 minutes, that cold would kind of go away and you just be used to it. But not in Laos. That's a different story. That country in December and January, on certain days and nights, that it is freezing cold, you guys. Uh, I remember some mornings, like even at night, I would just be freezing, and I had my hooded sweatshirt on and everything, and I was still cold. I still wore my shorts, but I was chilly. Um, like even before I go out every night, I would always make sure I wore my long sleeve shirt, like a dress shirt over my t-shirt because you would get that cold at night. But like I said, some of those days it was chilly. That sweatshirt was not enough. Even some of the locals had stocking caps on, which I thought was ridiculous because it wasn't that cold that it was freezing. It would not nip your ears, but it was chilly. And so honestly, Laos, I would not want to live there. It's too cold in Vientiane, Laos for me. I want to get out of the cold of the United States. I grew up in a cold part, up by New York there. Don't. It's chilly. So definitely um, Thailand and Cambodia are the type of weather that I came to Southeast Asia to live in. So that's how I feel about that. Um, I can't think of see if I visit with any of the locals about stuff. Um, Said about the electric vehicles, crossing the street. Oh, I'm gonna talk to you guys about the police. There. Okay. Laos. I have never seen so many police officers in all my life. I'm gonna tell you guys. Um, on pretty much every street corner, they have like this little booth or hut that the police officers stay in, and they're there Monday through Friday. I know on a lot of Saturdays they weren't there, but maybe sometimes they are. But a lot of Saturdays they weren't there. But they do checks of if everybody has a helmet, and then also with riding a motorbike in Laos, uh, you have to have a motorcycle license specifically from your home country, and you also have to have your international driver's permit. So I couldn't rent a motorbike there. I do have my motorcycle license from the United States, but I would I didn't think far enough ahead to get my pay the $20 at our local AAA office, like all my buddies from California did, um, to get that permit. So I never did rent a motorbike there. I just walked everywhere. Um, so that's where you're going to be out of there. And then I did see them pulling people over. They had two of the paddy wagons there, where they just have a whole bunch of police officers and they would just pull over foreigners and local people that have their helmet on and everything, check and make sure they have a driver's license and everything. So, um, yeah, and there was no pollution there. I had absolutely zero uh, problems with that because, like Bangkok, Thailand, after being 2 weeks there every time, like I don't see the smog really, but I get a cold, I get a sore throat there. Um, and that's 11 million people. Phnom Penh, Cambodia, um, 2.1 million people here, or 2.3 million people here. We're right on the river. I have yet to ever have a sore throat or cold from the pollution here. We Phnom Penh, Cambodia. If you live on the riverside, that river it would take any pollution away, and you don't have to worry about pollution in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. It's nice. Uh, um, Da Nang, Vietnam, 2.1 million people there. That city is located right on the ocean. The entire month I was there, didn't have to worry about any pollution. That ocean breeze takes any pollution away, so you won't have to worry about being sick. And then Vientiane here, Laos, that is 841,000 people, and it's built right on the river. That month there, I did not have to worry about any pollution here. I'm gonna blow my nose quick, you guys. Okay, the food there, I liked it. What I'm gonna say about all these countries, whether it's excluding the Philippines, the food was disgusting there. Uh, um, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, they all have different things on the menu there, and a guy needs a little bit of variety in his life. So each one of those countries, I like the food, mix it up and all that. So that now that I'm back in Cambodia, there's food in Laos that I miss. There's food in Vietnam that I miss. Certain things on the menu. So it was all good for the food over there in Laos. So I think that's all I can think of right now. I want to make a separate video about the dating scene, comparing the different women from Asia to Laos, because I made part one. Check that one out, you guys. That was like an hour and a half long, and I felt that I did a really good job on that. I'm really proud of my work on that one because I put a lot of thought in that video, and that's the reason that's taken me so long to make this video for you guys on my final thoughts on Laos, because I really wanted to think it over and see how I truly felt after a while being back here in Cambodia, and then also about the dating scene and the women over there in Laos. So I'll make that in a separate video for you guys as the part two of the um, dating over there. So if you guys like this content, like, share, and subscribe, and I will keep kicking out these videos from, Phnom Penh, Cambodia, where I'm at now. So, all right, bye.